Hey everyone, welcome to Module 1. This is all about the pre-interview. In this module, we're going to be going over everything that you need to know leading up to the interview, what I think are the best ways to prepare, ways that I've used and ways that I've showed other people how to prepare, the best way to dress, what to bring, and pretty much everything you need to know leading into it. Other things that you may need to know about the city or the department, we'll touch on all that here in this module. So getting started, this might be review to some of you. Some of you have already gone through interviews. Some of you may never have had one before, and that's okay too. If you don't know what to expect for a panel interview in the fire service, this is what you'll need to know. A lot of times there's multiple officers, anywhere from 2, 3, 5. Usually there won't be any more than 6. That'd be a lot of officers in one room. Maybe this is just a chief's interview. Maybe you'll be sitting down with just the mayor, or maybe the mayor and the chief, or maybe the mayor, the chief, some officers, and somebody from civil service. There could be a mix of different people. Typically, it will just be officers from the department, but don't be surprised if there's somebody else there as well. I remember one of the departments I tested at, it was the chief, the assistant chief, and I believe I think she was kind of like the fire department's manager, and she sat in on the interview, and it was the 3 of them. So it will usually be multiple people. As far as length goes, expect it to be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes in length. 30 minutes is a long time to have an interview, but I do remember one particular interview that I had that probably came pretty close to 30 minutes, probably about 25 minutes. So expect it to be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes in length. The other thing that you might have to watch out for, and this did happen to me in one of my interviews, it only happened in one, is I call it the aggressive officer. Obviously, nobody's going to reach over the table and go after you, but don't be surprised if there's somebody on the panel that no matter what you say, no matter how great your answer is, they will challenge you on everything. This isn't done to be mean to you or discriminate against you. It's to see how you handle the pressure and see if your answers are genuine. See if you're giving canned answers. So be ready for that, be aware of that, and just know that that's something that could potentially happen. So first, how do you prepare for the interview? I have 3 different ways that I know I use to prepare, and I know a lot of other people use these same ways to prepare, and it worked out pretty well for them. The first way is in the mirror. Now, when you practice in the mirror, what you literally need to do is, if you have a full-length mirror at home or somewhere else, take a chair, set the chair right in front of the mirror, sit down with your list of questions, and look at yourself in the mirror. Kind of just have a conversation between you and yourself, and look at your body language. What are you doing with your feet? What are you doing with your hands? How are you looking around? What you're focusing on while you're speaking is how you appear, because obviously the panel is going to be looking at you, and if you look nervous, or if you're shuffling, or you're moving your feet, or you're twisting side to side in your chair, that's going to look bad. It's going to make you look more nervous than you probably are. So the first way is to practice your questions and your answers in the mirror. The next way, which is, I'm going to give you a warning, when you do it, it's going to probably be kind of awkward. You're probably going to hate the way you sound on video. I mean, I'm recording these videos right now, and I hate the way I sound on these, but it's part of it. Record yourself. You don't need a mirror. You don't need anybody else around. Just get a recorder, use your phone, use your computer, whatever you want to use. Get your list of questions and practice your answers over and over, and record yourself and play the answers back. You will be shocked when you play the answers back how you sound. You'll probably hear yourself saying a lot of and I and stuttering and stammering and repeating the same points over and over. The more you can get rid of that, the better. Obviously, when you go into this interview, you don't want to sound like a robot, but you want to sound very conversational and very casual. But recording yourself and listening to yourself and practicing over and over and over again is going to help your answers be a little bit more smooth. Finally, the mock interview, and I thought this was the most important and best way that I used to prepare for my interviews, is I had people that were firefighters and people that weren't firefighters as well actually sit down and interview me. So what I needed to do is, and what you'll need to do as well, is you have someone literally sit across the table from you with a list of questions and ask you questions. Now, when you practice, try and make it as realistic as possible. Whoever the person is, look them dead in the eye. Answer them. Also look to the left and look to the right, and prepare as if there's people sitting next to them on either side of them, so that you're speaking to the panel, not just one person. Also, if you can find someone to do the mock interview with, try and see if it's someone that has experience in hiring people. For example, myself, I had my mom interview me when I was preparing for him. She had a lot of experience and a lot of people that worked underneath her, and she had to conduct many interviews with them. So I literally sat down with her and had her ask me interview questions, and I got her feedback on how I looked, how I sounded, how the answers flow. So if you can do all three of these, great. If you know of another way that you prepare or another way that works better for you, that's great too. This is not the definitive end-all be-all as far as how to prepare. This is just how I did it and how I know a lot of other people have done it, and it works great for them. In addition to practicing your questions and your answers, there's some other things you're going to want to know and study up on before you get into the interview. The first, and obviously one of the most basic, is the population of the city. Chances are you probably won't get asked directly, do you know what the population is here? But it's good to know that and know about how many calls they go on, the size of the city, major landmarks in the city, major events in the city, who the mayor is and significant city officials. And you'll also want to know who your hospital or the local hospital that you will probably end up transporting patients to and who the medical control is. Most of this stuff can easily be found by doing a quick Google search on whatever district or city you're in, or just talking to other people in the area, other volunteer firefighters. Maybe you know somebody on the department, ask them, they'll know. But these are basic things that you might get asked about, probably not, it just depends. But also make sure you study up on this. On the bottom of the 51 questions to prepare sheet that you'll get along with this, I have some of these things listed and a couple other points too that you're going to want to study up on. So make sure you touch up on this as well as practicing all your questions and answers. So now that you know all about your city or district and what to expect, and you have all your questions and answers prepared and you've practiced over and over, what do you wear when the day comes? This is way more important than people realize. Remember, you're walking, even though it's a fire interview, you're walking into a professional business environment. So first things first, get a haircut. Do not show up if it's been 2, 3, 4 weeks since you've gotten your haircut. If you end up getting hired, they're going to expect you to look professional day in and day out. Next, be clean shaven. If you get hired, you're going to be expected to be clean shaven every day that you're on duty. Don't show up there with a 5 o'clock shadow. Don't show up there with a scraggly beard. Shave your face. Next, no visible piercings. If you have your ears pierced, take them out. If you have a nose ring or an eyebrow ring or a lip ring or any other piercing, go ahead and just take those out ahead of time. Minimal visible tattoos. Now, this is a question I get all the time, is are tattoos acceptable? Well, the answer is it depends. If your department has a policy saying that there are no visible tattoos allowed, well, that answers your question. Outside of that, I don't see the issue with them. I have tattoos on my arm that are visible in a t-shirt, and we wear polo shirts every day, so you can see some of my tattoos. The chief, the assistant chief, a lot of the officers that I work with all have tattoos on their forearms that are visible, but every department's different, so see what the department has to say. As far as the interview is concerned, though, if you do have visible tattoos, try to keep them covered the best that you can. A dark colored suit. Now is not the time to get fancy or flashy. Stick with the basics. Black, navy, gray. Wear a suit. Anything less than a suit and tie is not acceptable. Also, speaking of ties, a solid color tie is what you have to go with. Don't go in there with a goofy cartoon tie or Firefighter flame tie or anything like that. Look at the pictures to the right. These are the types of suits and ties that you'll want to be wearing to your interview. Finally, wear dress shoes. Do not show up wearing sandals or Chuck Taylors or any sort of trendy tennis shoe. As you can see in the guy with the right, you see he has on the black dress shoes. That is exactly what you want to look like walking into your interview. And finally, this is not a fashion show. It's not the time to have some sort of silly haircut or trendy new suit or outfit or any kind of fashion trends. Stick to the basics. This is a business professional interview. For the women, a lot of the same rules apply here as did with the men. First, keep your hair nice and neat. As you can see in the pictures on the right, I don't know much about women's haircuts, but that looks fine. If you want to have it pulled back, that's great too. Keep your piercings to a minimum. It's okay to have earrings, that's no problem, but if you have a nose ring or a lip ring or an eyebrow ring, chances are those probably aren't going to be allowed if you end up getting hired to have those in while you're on duty, so just stick with the earrings for this. Minimal visible tattoos. Again, the same rules apply with the guys. Unless the department has a very strict policy about it, it should be fine, but for the interview, just try and keep them covered up. Business professional suit, as you can see in the woman above, or a skirt that's at least to the knee and a blouse. Again, don't show up in a skirt that's really, really short or really tight. That's going to send the wrong message, the type of message that you don't want to send to your possible future employer. Low heels, kind of with the skirt. Don't show up in very tall 6-inch stilettos. Now's not the time for that. Keep it very business professional. Solid colors, as with the guys, black, navy, gray. And again, this is not a fashion show. This is not the time to show off the newest trend or fashion or tiny skirt or skin tight dress. Again, that might send the wrong message. So as you can see with the women on the right, these are great examples of something you'd want to wear to an interview. Just keep it very business professional. Now that we've gone over what to expect, the best ways to prepare, and what to wear when you go to the interview, a question I get a lot from people is, should I bring anything with me? Now, amongst the people that prepare people for interviews and whatnot, some people will say yes, other people will say no. I say yes. I say you should bring a personal portfolio with yourself. Now, in your personal portfolio should be a couple of things. First, your resume. As far as rules for your resume is concerned, is make sure it's one page and make sure it just touches the highlights of your education, your experience, and any other credentials or qualifications that you may have. Now's not the time to have paragraphs and paragraphs on your resume because they're not going to want to read that. Remember, this is just going to be a quick reference guide for the people that are interviewing you to look down, and maybe if they see something that they know about, or maybe you went to a school that they went to, just something for them to look at as the interview is going on. Next, the only other thing you're going to want in there is a couple, no more than 3 letters of recommendation. Now, who should these letters be from? These letters should be from people like your former bosses or maybe your current boss. Or, for example, when I had mine, one of the people that I had write me a letter of recommendation was the person that was in charge of the fire academy that I went to. And that was awesome to have a letter of recommendation like that from him. So get 2 or 3 letters of recommendation. Again, this letter doesn't have to be long and drawn out, just a couple of paragraphs of how they know you and why you're qualified and why they think you would be a good asset to the department. Put all of this into a plastic binder. Now, you can find one of these at Target or Walmart or Office Max or Staples, any of those types of stores. You'll easily be able to find them. Don't get something that's goofy and colorful. Get a clear plastic binder or one of those ones with the little sliding spine. If you don't know how many people are going to be interviewing you, bring 3 copies. If you know that there's only going to be one person interviewing you, bring 1 copy. If you know there's going to be 5, bring 5. But a lot of times you won't know who's going to be interviewing you leading up to it. So a safe number is 3. If they need to, they can share. And as soon as you walk in the room and you introduce yourself and shake hands with everybody, set them down on the table and say, I've brought 3 copies of my resume with letters of recommendation if you would like to see them. And it's up to them. If they want to see them, they can take them and share them. If they don't, that's fine too. But I think this is a great touch to bring with you to show that you're very serious about the job and that you're well prepared. In each module, I'm going to be including a little slide and talking a little bit about rookie mistakes, things that you want to make sure that you do not do or things that you really want to avoid in your interview. And for preparing for the interview, I have 3 major rookie mistakes. The first one is really obvious. Do not show up unprepared. You have bought this course, use it. Practice your answers over and over and over again. Practice every day. If you can't practice every day, practice as much as you can. Please do not show up unprepared. I did that once to an interview before I got into the fire service, and before all of that, I thought I wanted to be a police officer, and I went to an interview in front of a panel of officers, and I completely embarrassed myself. I did not prepare. I didn't practice any questions. I wasn't dressed right. And I looked like an idiot, and I ended up not getting the job. So do not show up unprepared to your interview. Second, when you first walk in, chances are you're going to be running into other firefighters that work for the department, secretarial staff, maybe some janitorial staff. You don't know who you're going to be coming across or who you're going to be meeting. So treat everyone as if they're the chief. I get it. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be thinking about your questions and your answers, and do you look okay, and do I have to go to the bathroom? I don't want to have to get up. I get it. But greet everyone with a smile, be very personable, shake everyone's hand, be as friendly as you can. So treat everyone as if they were the chief. And finally, this sounds really simple, but be on time. On time doesn't mean making it there a couple minutes before your interview starts. On time means being there a minimum of 15 minutes before your slotted start time. The best way to avoid being late is a day or 2 before the interview. drive a route to get there and drive a second route to get there, just in case there's an accident or there's construction or there's traffic or something. Whatever you do, do not show up late. That will look so bad for you if you do that. So make sure you avoid these 3 rookie mistakes leading up to the interview. Coming up, we're going to be getting into the meat of this course. We're going to be going over the who questions. We're going to be touching on some of the basic elements of these questions and things that you want to make sure that you include in your answers. We're going to be going over some sample questions and answers and exactly how to approach these types of questions. These are going to be the ones that I can guarantee that you will get probably at the beginning of the interview, right when it first starts. Questions such as, so Mike, tell us about yourself. Things like that. So we're going to be getting into all that and what's entailed in those answers and how to approach them the right way coming up next in Module 2.